Okay guys, it is time for another massive freezer meal prep. Most of these meals are chicken-based meals, and the next freezer meal video I do will be beef-based meals. And as you know, I am 38 weeks pregnant, just waiting any day now for the baby, and wanted to get my freezer nice and stocked before the baby arrives. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. So the first thing I did for this freezer meal prep was to type out all of the recipes that I wanted to make along with all of the ingredients that I needed for them, just so that I had a piece of paper readily available and I didn't have to keep checking my phone or anything. Here I have some chicken cooking. I measured it out for the amount of meals I wanted to make, and I'm just cooking that in the crock pot. This is kind of my first day of meal prep here. Now I'm going to chop up some onions. I got out my little veggie chopper for this. Works very well. The onions killed my eyes, but I got the job done. There they are. So like I said, this is kind of day one. I tried prepping all of the veggies ahead of time. I don't know if I would do it this way again. It used up a lot of dishes. It's almost easier to just chop as you go, but I wanted to try it this way. So there's some celery. I have two different sizes. I have a little bit bigger for some of the recipes and a little bit smaller for some of the other recipes. Now I'm going to chop up a bunch of carrots. These are from the garden. That's why they look so funny. Peel those and chop those, and now I'm moving on to some red potatoes. I have a few organic baby red potatoes and then some bigger ones, as you can see there, and I'm just going to leave the skins on for those. All my veggies are prepped now. I am finishing up this leek here. Couple of leeks here, I guess, and now I'm actually going over to some frozen broccoli, and I took this out in hopes that it would thaw a little bit. It kind of took overnight for it to really thaw, but that's what that was. And now I'm cooking a bunch of elbow macaroni pasta. When the chicken was done cooking, I did use my electric mixer to shred it. There is the broccoli thawing out, and there is the cooked macaroni all ready to go. Now I am ready to start assembling some recipes. I also have some veggies out over here that are frozen mixed veggies that I am also thawing, and now I'm going to work on putting together the chicken and veggie enchiladas. This recipe is so simple. It just calls for cream soups. I used cream of chicken soup and whatever shredded meat you have on hand. I have made this with pork. It's very good. Today I'm making it with chicken. And I'm also adding some chopped frozen veggies just so that this dish has some veggies in it. Since it's a freezer meal, I'd love to be able to just pull it out and have that be all I have to do to serve my family dinner. So that is why I'm trying to add veggies to as many of these recipes as possible. Now you just take that mixture and roll it up in your tortilla shells. I did use white flour tortilla shells for this first sheet, and then the second time I used whole wheat tortillas. Just wanted to try it both ways. And then you just top it with the good old can of enchilada sauce, and I think I used 2 cans for both of these together. And then you just sprinkle a little bit of cheese on it. I used Fiesta blend. Alright, the next recipe I'm making is a chicken and broccoli bake with potatoes. So those red potatoes you saw me chopping earlier, I will be going in this, as well as the frozen broccoli. I'm just chopping it up a little bit to have it be in more bite-sized chunks. Adding my creamed soup. I did use a lot of the cream of soups because a lot of the recipes I found called for it. However, in the future, I do want to try to make my own sort of broth sauces. I did that a little bit more this week in my beef freezer meals, which you'll see in a few weeks probably. But, you know, it is, if you're going for convenience, there's nothing more convenient than pouring cream of soup out of a jar and having it ready to go. You don't have to cook it in a pan to get it ready for a freezer meal. So it just really depends on your preference, and I just always try to have balance in whatever I do. So I'm adding a little bit of cream to this recipe along with that cream of soup and chicken, and then I am going to add the chopped broccoli. And I do like to spray my pans with nonstick cooking spray just in case. A lot of these are new recipes for me, so I didn't really know if they were going to stick to the pan or not. It's just another sort of convenience thing. Here are my potatoes. I'm starting with that layer. I did cook these briefly in chicken broth. I don't think I showed that part, but I did, so they have been cooked, which will help with the whole baking process. I try to make a note of if there's any like raw vegetables or of course raw meat that needs to be cooked, or if everything is already cooked and it just needs to be heated through, because that can make a difference in reheating time. Just for fun, I am adding some bacon bits on top of the casserole along with some shredded cheese. Really looking forward to this one. I think it will be very good. And you might see a little tiny hand of my helper. I did have my helper Rosie with me for this one. She just loves to help me in the kitchen when she can, and I like to let her when I can. When I cover my freezer meals, I pretty much always start with a layer of saran wrap, and then I go in with the aluminum foil, and of course I write the label and the month and date on there so I know what I have, and that has worked for me really well so far. Then I just will use the aluminum foil again to cook it if I need it covered. Alright, so now I am kind of diving into doing multiple meals at once. I'm going to start by cooking some rice for a casserole, and then I am going to start arranging the ingredients for a tuna casserole. So I said most of these are chicken, and they are, but I did want to do a tuna casserole as well because we just really love that in our family. So obviously I'm starting with a bunch of tuna, and then I am adding some mayo, some sour cream, and a couple cans of cream of mushroom soup. And for the veggie, I added frozen peas. And into the baking dish, I started with the cooked elbow macaroni. So this is the next day after I cooked it. That's why it's kind of all sticking together. This is a multiple day process for me, especially being, 9 months pregnant. But just in general, to cook this many meals would probably take me more than one day. I know some people can do it in a day or an evening. I have not mastered that yet, at least not with the recipes that I like to do. And then I started by kind of spreading the mixture on top and decided that I wanted to mix it together. So I just did that right in the pan. That way I could kind of see and make sure that it was at the exact ratio of sauce to pasta that I wanted. So after that cream mixture is on top of the pasta, I am just sprinkling a layer of Parmesan cheese as well as a layer of breadcrumbs, and that is it for the tuna casserole. And I don't think I mentioned yet, but I am making 2 of every recipe that I'm doing. So I am doubling the recipes. I'm making 2 meals out of them. I just thought that would be easier to kind of have more meals with a little bit less work. All right, next recipe is chicken rice green bean casserole. Again, a really simple one. So I am just adding into a big bowl the rice that I cooked along with a bunch of chicken. I'm also adding the green beans, of course, along with some cream of chicken soup and some chicken broth, some milk, and also some cumin, and some of the chopped onions. Then I just sprayed the pan with nonstick spray again and spread the mixture all over, topped it with a little bit of the same Fiesta blend cheese, and that's it. Okay, next we are doing some chicken broccoli Alfredo stuffed shells. Doesn't that sound like fun? So we have the chopped frozen broccoli here, and again I am spraying that pan down, and then obviously I cooked my shells. They are steaming, and I just kind of threw them in that pan to cool off because they don't have to be hot. It's very hard to handle them when they're hot, so I let them cool off. And now I am just going to make up the sauce. So for the sauce, I have some milk and some whipping cream. There are the noodles all arranged nicely, and there is the sauce cooking on the stove. So So there was some Parmesan cheese in that sauce as well. It's basically an Alfredo sauce, like I said. And then a couple of eggs the recipe said to mix up, so I'm not sure if I did it right, but I did pour the eggs over the broccoli, and now I'm pouring the sauce over the broccoli and mixing that all together. Then I am adding some mozzarella cheese. My mozzarella cheese was frozen, that's why it looks funky like that. But adding that, and then also some garlic powder. And lastly, adding the shredded chicken. Luckily, this did cool off pretty quickly because like the broccoli was not hot and the chicken wasn't hot. Otherwise, it would have been really hard to stuff the shells, but with the extra added ingredients, it was not that hard. It cooled off really quickly. So now it's time to stuff the shells, and I just used a spoon and I stuffed them. I have no idea how this is gonna work. I have done stuffed shells in the freezer before, but I've never done this recipe, so hopefully it turns out good. Alright, so I did make 2 sheets of the stuffed shells, and now I had some leftover ingredients from the stuffed shells, that sauce, that Alfredo sauce, so I decided I was just going to throw together the leftovers of everything I had and make a sort of impromptu casserole. So I added some bacon bits to the chicken broccoli Alfredo mixture, and I added some more bacon bits. And now I'm going to add some of the leftover cooked macaroni because I had a lot of that left over too. And I thought, why not? We have our carb, our vegetable, our protein, everything, and it's a casserole. And this is the last meal of the video. It worked out really well. I just took whatever leftover ingredients I had and threw them all together to make a casserole. So not a bad way to end the video. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, my next freezer meal prep will be beef freezer meals. I think my video next week is going to be a what's for dinner, and then the week after that will be beef freezer meals. I'm also trying to get my videos kind of lined up for whenever baby comes, so I have pre-filmed a little bit. But I would love to hear from you. What dinners have you been making lately? What is your favorite freezer meal to prep or freezer food? Or are you more into like weekly meal prep? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Thank you so much for watching as usual. I hope you will subscribe and stick around. I have a lot more fun cooking videos coming, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Bye!